Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're stepping completely out of that traditional, messy, intuitive home kitchen, and we're diving headfirst into a world of extreme culinary organization. Have you ever wished a recipe came with the exactness of a mechanical engineering schematic? Well, today, we're going to explore this highly structured, honestly kind of obsessive system known as the RPN Chef format. It is a totally fascinating approach that completely rethinks how we record, share, and execute our food. Okay, let's dive into this. Right at the very core of the RPN Chef's source material is this highly literal, deeply analytical definition. They say, cooking is the act of preparing food by applying heat. That's it. It completely strips away all the romance, the dash of this and pinch of that, and boils it down, pun intended, to pure, measurable science. It really sets the perfect stage for everything we're about to see. So, here's our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start with the RPN Chef philosophy, then we'll decode the recipe interface. After that, we'll look at the four culinary pillars, dive into a 1930s heritage case study, and wrap up with from handwritten to engineered. All right, jumping right into section 1, the RPN Chef philosophy. Know your cooking results before you begin. So RPN Chef actually stands for Recipe Process Notation Chef. And the entire goal of this system is to take any standard personal recipe and transform it into a highly tested, perfectly repeatable process. It essentially replaces all that kitchen guesswork with a really strict sequence of actions. Once a recipe is formatted this way, it gets evaluated by experienced independent consultants. If it passes their rigorous testing, it achieves what they call engineered perfection. And what that means is absolutely anyone, anywhere can duplicate the exact same results. Pretty wild, right? Moving on to Section 2, Decoding the Recipe Interface. The cockpit of culinary engineering. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how intensely annotated this interface is. I mean, looking at this screen is honestly like looking at the controls of a commercial airliner. We're looking at a 33-point annotated guide just to understand the layout. You've got designated zones for preparation, ingredients, equipment, and instructions. Plus, there are buttons linking directly to USDA food safety guidelines, sponsor coupons, embedded videos, and precise temperature readouts. It's designed to give you literally maximum detail, so you never ever have to guess what tool or ingredient comes next. Now, if you felt a little overwhelmed looking at that last visual, trust me, you are not alone. But to anchor this complex interface, the system constantly repeats this one core mantra: focus on one thing at a time. The dashboard is literally segmented so that if you just follow the box you're currently in, the system keeps you strictly on track, step by step. It takes this massive, intimidating process and makes it entirely achievable. That brings us to Section 3, the 4 culinary pillars, the strict requirements for a successful recipe. According to the RPN Chef method, for literally any recipe step to be successful, it has to explicitly provide these 4 essential requirements. First up is preparation, ensuring you're physically and logistically ready to go. Second is equipment, mapping out the exact tools you need. Third is ingredients and measures. And fourth, the instructions, the exact actions to take. On top of all that, everything must be executed within known heat variables and exact timeframes. Every single page of an RPN Chef recipe revolves around these 4 pillars. And this brilliantly illustrates just how deep those pillars actually go. This is a look at the equipment section. Notice it's not just a casual note saying, hey, grab a pot and a pan. No, it's a granular shopping list, tracking every single necessary tool. It maps out the exact requirements down to an 8x5-inch Pyrex dish, metal tongs, a digital timer. It even tracks the cumulative estimated costs down to the penny. In this case, $82.13. You literally cannot start cooking until your equipment inventory matches this exact page. Let's look at a real-world example in Section 4, a 1930s heritage case study. Item number JRD-10, pressed chicken. So, this specific recipe comes to us from the BB family back in the 1930s. Now, back then, having a chicken in every pot was a real symbol of prosperity. This was a luxurious Sunday meal that you actually had to pre-order from a butcher. And the original recipe instructions passed down through the family, well, they were incredibly simple. The cooks were just told to boil a chicken with vegetables, then pick meat from the bones and press into a dish, serve in slices. It was this highly intuitive, rustic process that relied entirely on the cook's inherent kitchen knowledge.
But as you might guess, intuitive and rustic just doesn't cut it in the RPN chef format. When this family recipe was submitted, those independent consultants evaluated it using this intense 26-axis radar diagram. I mean, look at this. They score the dish on incredibly specific metrics. We're talking about how succulent and velvety it is, its presentation, and whether it's tangy or smoky. They are quite literally mapping the subjective emotional experience of eating a family meal onto an objective geometric chart.
So the crucial point here is this final, literal numerical score. Based on a rolling average of all those consultant evaluations, the 1930s pressed chicken achieved a score of 78.2. That places it in what they call the silver phase. To achieve that ultimate status of engineered perfection we talked about earlier, a recipe absolutely has to hit a score of 90 or higher. So while it's probably delicious, JRD10 still has some room for process optimization. Finally, Section 5, From Handwritten to Engineered, the visual evolution of a family dish. Let's move to and see how this builds across generations. Take a look at the left side here. This is the original record of the recipe, hastily scrawled on a notepad back in 1986 during a family visit. It's literally titled Mom's Watery Chicken. You can see crossouts, super vague instructions like boil till tender, and little notes just stuffed into the margins. Now look on the right. That exact same hastily scribbled note has been completely transformed into a massive, interactive, 67-page digital RPN Chef entry screen. Going from a messy, stained piece of paper to a 67-page software manual is just incredible to see. To really drive home what those 67 pages actually contain, just look at this. This is literally just step 1 out of 17. The entire page is dedicated solely to preparation and washing. It commands you to defrost the chicken with specific lukewarm water changes, wash your hands with soap, and it explicitly specifies that you must shake and rotate chicken for 10 seconds. 10 exact seconds. Every single microaction has been engineered and documented for you. And that leaves us with a really fascinating dynamic to think about. This extreme level of systematization absolutely guarantees generational consistency. You're never again going to have to guess what grandma meant by a pinch of salt or boil till done. But at the same time, it strips away the spontaneity and improvisation that so many people consider the true art of cooking. So it makes you wonder, could your own cherished, messy, intuitive family recipes survive the rigid test of engineered perfection? It really is a brilliant blend of culinary tradition and mechanical exactness. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy cooking, or actually, should I say, happy engineering.